power generation plant based on energy of natural gas. So here we are using natural gas to rotate the turbine and generate the electricity through the generator. Now we all know that the natural gas which is there, it has very high temperature and pressure. So we use this natural gas. Now there are three sections in which we use it. So first is what, that the pressurized air which is obtained. So that air is introduced into the combustion chamber using a compressor. So we are using a compressor, and in that combustion chamber we introduce the pressurized gas. Now this pressurized air which is there, it is having a lot of high pressure. Now because of this high pressure, what happens is, in the combustion chamber, the gas which is there, it starts to burn in presence of air. Now as the gas burns, the gas because of, as it is burning, it releases high temperature and pressure which is there, it is generated inside that chamber. And because of that high temperature and pressure, what happens is the turbine starts to rotate, and then in the generator the electricity can be produced. So here in the diagram you can see that the chambers are there. Here we can see the compressor is there, then we have the combustion chamber, and then we have the gas turbine which is there. So all of this reaction, all of the steps which is taken, that happens here only. We are introducing the gas in it, and because of the air which is present, the gas which is there, it starts to burn, and as it is burning because of combustion, so it produces high amount of temperature and pressure is generated. And because of that high temperature and pressure, what happens is the gas turbine which is there, it starts to rotate. Now there are few advantages of this energy, that as it does not produce lot amount of pollution. So the pollution which is generated, pollution is generated, but less amount of pollution is generated. When we burn coal, that time a lot of amount of pollution is generated. Also the energy which is generated, that is also very high. So we get a very high amount of energy. Now here you can see the diagram which is given. First is the compressed pressurized air, it goes into the combustion chamber. Pressure is generated because of the burning of the natural gas. Then gas turbine, it starts to rotate. Generator generates the electricity. And here in this combustion chamber, we have what? We have the natural gas. Now, how the transformation is taking place? So first, that is chemical energy. We all know that in natural gas, we have chemical energy. So that chemical energy is then converted into kinetic energy, which is generated due to combustion of the gas. Whenever anything is working, now high temperature and pressure is created, that means kinetic energy is being formed. So that kinetic energy is then converted into kinetic energy in the turbines, and then it gets converted into electrical energy. So this is the formation of energy. From chemical energy, it got converted into kinetic energy, and then it got converted to electrical energy. Next is the hydroelectric energy. So now here we use the energy from the water. Now we all know that moving water has kinetic energy, and water is stored, it has potential energy. So we use the energy of water, and we use this energy to generate electricity. So what we do is, we use the energy which is there in the reservoir. Now we can create a dam. We all know that when we create a dam, we let the water to be collected in a particular place. So from there we get the energy, the potential energy which is there in the stored water, we convert it into kinetic energy. Now in many pictures and films you must have seen this form of energy is very common, and in many villages in India we use this, that is hydroelectric energy. We use it to produce electricity. Now this is also very fast. Now as what we do is, we take the water, the moving water. Now the water, when it moves, it is very fast, it has high amount of energy. So that kinetic energy which is there, it helps to rotate the turbine. That water, we drop it on the turbine, and when the turbine move in the generator, electricity is generated. So this is how we use hydroelectric energy to produce electricity. So this form of energy is called as hydroelectric energy, as we are using hydro energy. Now here you can see that what actually happens here. So here is the reservoir, that is we have stored the energy. Here is the potential energy of water. This potential energy, here you can see the gate is there. Whenever they need the water, that gate is open. So this gate, when it opens, the water starts to move here and gets converted into kinetic energy. The water falls on this turbine, and as this turbine rotates, now when it is coming, it is with a lot of force. So as because of the force, the turbine also rotates very fast, and then we have the generator here which is attached to this turbine, and from the generator then we have your power line. So energy is generated and then the electricity can be stored. Now whatever water is there, it is then again released into this reservoir only. So from this reservoir only, what happens is we are again, now this water is again sent here, then again from here the water is then released, this gate is opened, and then again the turbine can be moved and electricity can be generated. Now how transformation takes place? So potential energy of water, it gets converted. Potential energy is when the water is stored, it is only stored in the dam. So from here, when it is flowing, it gets converted into kinetic energy. And then when the turbine starts to move, that means the kinetic energy, anything when it is moving, it is having kinetic energy. And because of the turbine in the generator, electricity can be generated. Now, hydroelectric energies are the safest energy. It is clean energy. There is no fuel which is used. We are using water only. There is no form of pollution which is happening. Also, as we have water shortages, so in the dams only, when we collect the water, in there only the same water can be utilized again and again to produce energy. So even if we have water shortage, then also energy can be generated. And also these type of energy, it is refillable. It can be replenished whenever during rainfall we get water, so again the water can be stored in that reservoir. Now there are few problems in it. First of all, the because as in rainy season the dams may overflow, so they will have to open the gates, and because of which the many villages and area around it can be submerged. And because of that, what happens is the people who are staying there, they can be suffering because of the dams. And also as the river, as we build the dam in the river, so we are even destroying the river ecosystem, because we all know that whenever any dams are built, it is a very huge project, and because of which whatever living things are there inside the water, whatever ecosystem is there inside the river, everything is destroyed. So these are few advantages and disadvantages of hydroelectric energy. Next is electricity generation using wind energy. Now it is same as we used hydroelectric energy, that is we used water. Now here we are using wind. So what we use is we use the wind. Now it is very important, the velocity of the wind, the intensity of the wind should be very high, then only the blades will rotate. You must have seen windmills. So here only the electricity is generated. So what happens here is that the windmills are there. So because of the wind, the blades which are there, it starts to rotate. Now as the blade rotate, we have a gearbox here. Now why gearbox is used? It is used to fix, or you can say increase, the rotation per unit time. So because of that, this gearbox is used. Now as the wind intensity changes rapidly, it can be high, it can be low after some time. So for that reason we have a gearbox, and then that gearbox is attached to a generator, and because of the generator the electricity is generated here. So this is how we use the kinetic energy of the wind, and we use to rotate the turbine, and then electricity can be generated. Now this is also the cleanest form of energy, as there is no type of pollution which is created in this. Now wind turbines which are there, it is with the capacity that is 1 kilovolt to about 7 megavolt. These are only available, and this type of energy can be produced. We can get 1 kilovolt to 7 megavolt of energy. Now whatever the things are there, that it is a clean form of energy, but there are few disadvantages also, as this windmills cannot be located or cannot be settled at a place where people are living. It requires very empty spaces. So we even whenever we have to settle, or whenever we have to put a windmill or we can say wherever we need to use wind energy, there should be various things that has to be considered, various geographical factors are considered. Even in those places the intensity of wind should be high, so in such places are then first of all searched, and then the windmills are installed in those places. And also in rainy season it becomes a little hectic, as the windmills can be rust and all can take place in that, so that is why there are few disadvantages as well. But it is a clean form of energy and it is also a green energy. And though we cannot install the windmills everywhere, but in some places we can install the wind energy and we can produce electricity from it. Next is to generate electricity by using solar energy. Now we all know that sunlight is readily available to us. It is a free source of energy. So this energy can be used to produce electricity, and it is also a clean source of energy. Now we can use it in two ways. First of all is that we use it directly with the help of solar photovoltaic cell. Now these cells, they convert the solar radiation directly into electrical energy, and this is called as solar photovoltaic energy. Now this energy we can use it directly by using these cells. So in this we don't have to use turbines, or we don't have to use the electromagnetic induction, we don't have to use generator, we don't have to use any principle. We just use the cell, we directly use the solar energy and we produce the electricity. And the other method is that because of this solar energy, we then convert it into thermal energy, that is this solar energy gets converted into steam, and then because of this steam, what happens, the turbine will rotate and we use the electromagnetic induction here, we use the generator, and then the energy can be generated. So this is the two form in which we can produce electricity by solar energy. So first is energy generation through solar photovoltaic cell. Now what do we do here is that we use a solar photovoltaic cell, and this radiations are directly converted into electrical energy. Now the energy that is transformed, it is DC current, that is direct current. Now the solar photovoltaic cell, it is made up of semiconductors. Now semiconductors are in between the conductors and the insulators. So these they try to produce electricity, and the transformation takes place in this, and then the electricity can be generated. So sunlight we use with the help of photovoltaic cell, that can be converted to the direct electric power, direct current electric power, that is DC electric power. Now whatever energy that is generated because of the solar cell, it is in DC current. Now this DC current, it has to be stored somewhere. So we use batteries to store the energy. One thing is that we directly use the current. We can directly use it by in the lights or in any diodes. But if we have to store it, we'll have to store it in the battery so that we can use it for other forms. Now, in most of the places, that is in various industrial sector, AC current is used, that is nothing but the alternative current. Now this AC current, it has to be converted from the DC current. So in the batteries we use an inverter to convert the DC current to the AC current, and that can be used to run any electronic device in the industrial sector. It is not necessary that that device should be of the direct current only. So that is why we use an inverter to convert the current from DC to AC current, that it can be used in anywhere. Now this is a very clean and good source of energy which is produced. No type of pollution is also generated from this. Now next is solar thermal power plant. Now we saw that we can produce thermal energy by burning coal, or because of nuclear fuel also we get so thermal energy. But thermal energy can also be generated through the solar energy. We can use the radiation of the sun to produce the thermal energy. So what we need is we need few reflectors and absorbers for it, and these reflectors and absorbers will then convert the heat energy and the solar energy into heat energy, and then this heat energy, that is the steam which is formed, it can be utilized to run that turbine, and then the generator will generate the electricity. So here you can see we have concentrators for collecting the sunlight. So sunlight need to be collected, it need to be absorbed, so we have absorbers. Then we have a steam turbine. Because of the absorbed sunlight, because of the heat that is generated, this turbine will rotate, and then electric generators we have to produce what? The electricity. So this is the diagrammatic representation of thermal power plant. We have a reflector here. Now the sun radiations which fall on the reflector, it reflects, and here is the absorber. Now in this we have flowing water. Now because of this, the water becomes heated, as because the heat is directly reflected here. The light is directly reflected here. So this water, the water is cold. When it enters into this part, it becomes heat, and then as it is heated, the next thing what we get is, because of the heat, steam is generated. So here we can see this is blue in color, that means it is normal water. When it enters here, it becomes red, and then the steam is generated. So here you can see that we have the solar panel, and here there are pipelines which will be giving the cold and the hot water. So from here the cold water is pumped, and when it comes here, because of the sun, here we have reflectors, so it becomes hot, and then here you can see it is in red in color. So because of the heat, then steam is generated. Here is our turbine. This turbine will rotate, and then we have a generator where the electricity will be generated. Now as the steam which is there, it is then condensed in the cooling tower, and then again the water is formed from the steam, and then that again water can be reused to the same process, and the steam will be generated, the turbine will rotate, and the electricity keeps on generating. So this was about the thermal energy. This is also a very safe and clean form of energy.